Welcome to drawing practice number 3. In this practice, we're going to be working on drawing round holes. Our vocabulary words include positive and negative space, horizon line, and proportion. We can also call this scale. You'll also need to recall what we learned about cylinders in the last lesson. So just watch as I sketch this out at the beginning. If I draw a really short cylinder, that's kind of the basis for today's lesson. Okay, so that looks like a short cylinder, right? But look what happens if I put it in a room. So here I'm just sketching out the floor and 2 walls of a room. Okay, but the floor has some thickness, right? Like our floors aren't made out of paper. So look at what happens if I imagine this cylinder as a hole in the floor rather than something that's sitting on top of the floor. Now all of a sudden the thickness of the cylinder is the thickness of the floor. The negative space is the empty space where you might fall through the floor. So I can use a dark value to show that. And the positive space is the floor itself. So keep this image in mind as we progress to today's lesson. We're just going to drill holes into floors. Okay, I'm going to start with a horizontal line. This line is called the horizon line. Artists use horizon lines to show the eye level of a viewer. So the further forward things are, the closer they are to the viewer, the bigger they are. So I'm starting with a big ellipse in the front, and then as I move closer to the horizon line, things are further away. So the ellipses get smaller. My next step is turning these ellipses into little cylinders. And again, the further away they are, the smaller they are. That's using proportion or scale to show depth, right? They're going back into space. Okay, once I've drawn these little cylinders, I'm going to line weight them, just like I did on the floor, to show that these aren't cylinders sitting on top of the ground. Actually, they're holes that somebody has drilled into the ground. So the ground here is my positive space. I'm using kind of a light value to just show that this ground here is positive space. Give it some body. So my negative space is the space inside the hole, right? The hole itself, the part you might fall through. And to show that these are empty, I'm going to go ahead and lay down a really dark value on the inside of all of my holes. Next, I can use some middle values to kind of show that these holes are round. I'm just kind of blending out. And we've got some ground with holes in it. So to review today's vocabulary, the positive space was the ground itself, and the negative space was the space inside the hole. The horizon line was the eye level of the viewer. that horizontal line. And we used proportion or scale to show that the closer things were to the viewer, the bigger they were, and the further away they were, the smaller they got.